How we doing? How we doing? This is Destination Denver, Colorado, and today we're talking about the best cities to live when moving to Denver, Colorado, and we're starting right now. All right, this is Destination Denver, Colorado. I'm your host, Jimmy Everetson. Listen, if you're interested in learning all the ins and outs, pros and cons, moving to or around Denver, Colorado, then this is the channel for you. So that subscribe button and notification icon you see on your screen, make sure you click on that as I'm dropping new videos for you each and every week. And as much as I try to be a little creative here on camera, I'm also a licensed mortgage broker covering the entire state of Colorado and team with some of Denver's most talented realtors. We are helping people move here each and every day. So the number and email you see on your screen, know that I am always the person, answer your phone calls, answer your texts, answer your emails, there when and if you need me. Now that we're done with that fun-filled stuff, let's get to what we're here for, and that is the best cities to live when moving to Denver, Colorado in 2024. So as you may have figured out from the title of this video, these cities, these suburbs were put together after conversations with locals, friends, clients, transplants. And it's not a list of, number one was the best and number six was, they were just put together in the order as I found them. I didn't take a specific vote. These were just the top six that were routinely talked about. We're gonna start with number one, Lakewood, Colorado, where I was born and raised and live currently. Why? Because I just wanted to come at you with some energy right off the bat. So Lakewood, Colorado, located west of Denver. We border Denver on one side, and then we border basically the Rocky Mountains on the other. We have Golden and Morrison to our west. They're getting into the mountains. So first thing you need to know about Lakewood, it's got, in my humble opinion, a great location. Again, you have the city on one side, you have the mountains on the other. Really everything, if you're moving to Denver or you're moving to one of the busier cities of Colorado, the best you could get. Now in between that, you have a really good mix. You have a ton of outdoor recreation. They say Lakewood has 100 parks, it's actually 99, but you've got a ton of parks, some of them just small neighborhood things, and others like William Hayden, we call it Green Mountain, massive park with trails and acres and acres of land. So you've got your outdoor recreation galore. And then you have plenty of culture. One, you again have easy access to Denver if you want to get there, but within Lakewood, there's plenty to do. We'll talk about Belmar, here in a second. A ton of culture, ton of different festivities within the town there. So a little bit of both. You've got some outdoor activity and you got some culture. Couple big factors for people thinking. One, you've got diverse housing options. Basically, as you get closer to Denver, you're going to find older homes. Lakewood doesn't have a lot of new construction. So that is one thing I would tell people. If you're looking for brand new modern homes, Lakewood, we just don't have a lot of it. But anything you could think of buying, whether that's a detached house with a big yard, mature trees, or whether that's a townhome, apartments, condos, different styles, different structures, different areas of town. Again, you could be really close to Denver. You could have kind of more of a mountain feel or anything in between. And you'll see as you move farther, east moving west, how the community changed, how homes built in the 50s and 60s differ from communities that were built in the 70s and 80s. And now more recent developments like Solterra, which is a very nice community in West Lakewood, right, overlooking the mountains. So a lot of different opportunities there. Education being an important one to a lot of people. Whether you have kids or not, I always tell people education in schools are going to apply to you because they're going to apply to how much you're paying in rent or how much your home is worth if you are buying. So Jefferson County schools take care of Lakewood. Lakewood overall gets pretty high ratings as far as their schools. Now, as I tell you, anywhere you go, you're going to want to look at specific schools near where you are living. But overall, Jefferson County and Lakewood get pretty high ratings for schools. And then a couple little nuances about Lakewood. It's got, some neighborhood charm. I mentioned Belmar earlier. Lakewood doesn't really have a downtown area. Belmar's the closest we have to it. And that's where you're gonna find a lot of shops, boutiques, whether it's mom and pop, a lot of corporate or retail shops there. Some decent restaurants, decent bars to go to. That's really the closest thing Lakewood has to a hub, if you will. And then some very cool community events. They've got a great Italian festival we love going to. They've got a cider festival. Belmar has, you have the Belmar shopping area, and then basically right next to where I live, you have Belmar Park, a great outdoor area, couple ponds. I wouldn't call them lakes, couple ponds, but they have a cider festival over there that's a lot of fun. They do a lot of things during Halloween, a lot of things during Christmas. So a lot of different events throughout Lakewood. Next up on our list, and a place that I have really grown to enjoy, and that is Parker, Colorado. Now, Parker is located southeast of Denver, south of Aurora, and it is a bit of a drive. If you need to get to downtown Denver every day, Parker could be 45 minutes to an hour, depending on traffic. So a little challenging there. But when you talk about just a really great community with a small town feel to it, where you have, things to do, you're close enough to town, you're close enough to Denver to get there if you need to, you're close enough to the mountains to get there. Parker has a lot going for it. So one of my favorite things about Parker itself is downtown Parker, and you're gonna see that right away, just a little strip along Main Street. So different shops, different restaurants. During the summer, you'll see a lot of outdoor bands being played, patio, open patios. Just a really warm, engaging, fun community. I don't know if there's a community I like better in the summertime. I mean, year round Parker's great, but in the summertime you get out to Parker and it's got just enough like liveliness to it, but it's also got, it feels old school. What I mean by that, like you go out and you see kids riding around in bicycles. If you go to a park, you see like kids playing baseball and kids playing soccer, and you see there's a lot of equestrian areas, so you see a lot of horseback riding. It's just a very unique area where it's got enough modern, but yet feels like, again, you're in that small old school town. A very cool thing to check out in Parker is the Parker Arts, Culture, and Events Center. The Pace Center, very cool place to check out within Parker, and one of the things right there in the downtown community. Other cool things about Parker, plenty of outdoor activities. You may be a ways away from the mountain, but you have really easy access to the Cherry Creek trails. It's a trail system that runs all throughout eastern Colorado and then running south into Highlands Ranch. So a lot of outdoor activities there. Again, parks, green space, open space. Some of the coolest neighborhoods, I'm a huge fan of the Pinery, but there are several neighborhoods in Parker. Pinery is actually not part of Parker, but it's part of Parker. So I'm including it. I'll have the locals yell at me for that. But a ton of great neighborhoods. And again, when you talk about housing, Parker has some affordability challenges. I will say that it's gotten more expensive with how popular it has become, and certainly some neighborhoods where prices can get up there. But I think there's still plenty of options. And again, you have just about everything. If you're looking for new construction in the multi-millions of dollars, or you're looking for, a decent apartment or townhome to rent, or a house that's, $350,000, $400,000, there's different options within Parker that would fit your needs. Locals to Parker rave about their educational system. There are a ton of great schools within Parker, a lot of elementary school, a lot of middle schools. It seems as though that community really cares about their education. And the education quality in Parker is raved about by locals. We hear a lot about it. It's also home to Legend High School. There's other high schools, but Legend High School, one of the more popular and a very cool campus. I know I mentioned the downtown area, also the festivals within downtown at O'Brien's Park. They'll do a lot. They'll do Parker Days, they'll do a trunk or treat, a lot of music festivals, a lot of art festivals, a very community engaged environment. And really, when you talk about family friendly, not to say that you can't live in Parker by yourself or with a couple or what have you, but I mean, when we talk family friendly, they are going to rate near the top of any community in the Denver metro area. Next up on the list, one of my favorite communities in all of Colorado, and that is Littleton, Colorado. Located south of Denver and actually south of Lakewood as well. Littleton, if you Google Littleton, you're going to see the incorporated area of Littleton. It doesn't look very big. The unincorporated Littleton stretches much farther west. So Littleton is a pretty massive area. To start out, we're gonna talk about downtown Littleton. I'm a huge fan of downtown communities, and Littleton's has one of, if not the best. So Main Street Littleton is multiple blocks, a solid stretch, probably a 20-minute walk, give or take, of shops, boutiques, and I love the fact that there's a mix. You know, you'll have some big corporate, some brands along that strip, but you'll also have plenty of mom and pop, locally owned and operated businesses along that strip. And then off the side streets, there's plenty of businesses there as well. So downtown Littleton, one of the coolest areas. And you can find some affordability in housing within a decent drive. You may not be able to walk to Main Street unless you want to pay a pretty penny, but you have pretty easy access to it. There's tons of communities around that where you can be in downtown Littleton in 10 to 15 minutes tops. Tying into that, you've got easy access to the South Platte River. You've got easy, quick access to Chatfield State Park. So a lot of, again, outdoor nature, great views of the mountains, and easy access to get to the Rockies. Certain areas of Littleton, as I mentioned, it stretches west. Again, you're into the Front Range. You're into communities like Columbine, Concarroll. You're right there. And again, kind of hitting on those key factors, you know, a very abundant real estate market with just about everything. I mean, you could be in the heart of downtown. You could be into some older suburbs that have been around for 50, 60 years, kind of similar to Lakewood, in the neighborhood I live in. You could be in Sterling Ranch, which is South Littleton. It's a drive. Sterling Ranch is a bit out there, but that is a pretty much brand new community, really well thought out, where they have a lot of amenities right there for you. So when it comes to housing, whether you're buying, whether you're renting, what type of home you want, Littleton is going to have it. Littleton education is serviced by Littleton Public Schools. Again, highly rated. I'm just going to repeat. You're always going to want to do your due diligence on specific schools, but as a whole, pretty highly rated there. And then for my shoppers, because this was one of the biggest things I heard, is not just in downtown Littleton, but just south of Littleton, down Santa Fe a little bit farther, more shops, just a ton of amenities in that regard. Now, again, those are mainly focused towards downtown Littleton. So there is going to be a difference. If you get away from downtown Littleton, the rest of Littleton kind of reminds me a lot of Lakewood. There's different suburbs, you know, there's different neighborhoods, but you may have to drive 10 or 15 minutes to get to, you know, these amenities of shops and restaurants. And one thing I would mention about Littleton, because it seemed like everybody that I talked to wanted to remind me of this, and I think this goes for every community I've had here, but they talked about how safe it felt. They talked about how in these neighborhoods, how comfortable they felt getting out and about. Now, I feel the same thing from an education standpoint as I do on safety. I'm always going to tell people, do your due diligence as far as your research on any community you want to live in. But that was, of all the 6 communities, it was the folks that I talked to that lived in Littleton, and especially the ones that liked walking around the town, that just kept emphasizing that to me, and I thought I would share that with you. Now, next up on the list, number 4, and this is kind of cheating, and we're going to try to cover a big area in a short period of time, and that is Aurora, Colorado. Now, Aurora is basically all of East Denver. It is massive. When we talk about the west side of Denver, there's multiple suburbs. Aurora covers a lot. So, just to speak as transparently as I can, there are certain areas of Aurora that, like anywhere else, that are more desirable than others, and there were certain areas that people just emphasized, focus on these. As you get closer to Denver, it's a lot like Lakewood. The closer you get to Denver, the older the neighborhoods, you know, just kind of the different feel of what type of housing, what type of apartments, what type of townhomes you're going to see. As you get farther out, the one thing, I wouldn't say one thing, but a big thing that's different about Aurora as opposed to Lakewood, which, you know, they're just on opposite sides of Denver, is that Aurora has a lot more new development. A lot of that was in the southeast corner of Aurora, an area called Southlands. You've got communities like Talon's Reach, Blackstone, South Shore, brand new builds, very cool communities. But now you're starting to see that stretch north. So, I mean, if you just start working straight east out of Denver, you're going to see more and more new communities. So if you're a big new construction person, you're probably going to want to look east of Denver, whether that's Aurora, whether that's Parker, whether that's moving north into Commerce City. Now, a big factor in Aurora will be the affordability. Certainly certain areas more desirable than others, but Aurora tends to be, as areas of Lakewood can, Aurora tends to have some solid affordability opportunities for people, again, whether you are buying or renting. Education in Aurora was one thing that, because of its size, you really have to look at where in Aurora you're going to live. There are several areas that are highly rated. There's areas of Aurora, for instance, that are covered by the Cherry Creek School District, which is one of the highest rated in the state. But when it came to school, when it came to economics, there are areas of Aurora, because of how big it is, where the economic picture, the infrastructure looks better or worse. So that's something you're going to want to look at through Aurora. And trust me, if I tried to dive in on this video, we would be here for another 30 minutes and none of you would appreciate that. So we'll try to keep it to the basics, but I do have thorough videos on each of these areas we've covered just for your reference. Some nice perks of Aurora are you are centrally located around two of the best, biggest, I should say 3 of the best medical facilities in all of the Denver metro. So you got the Anschutz campus for CU Medical, a huge medical campus there. You've got Children's Hospital, and you've got the Rocky Mountain Regional VA Hospital right there in Aurora. They're all there in the same community. So a huge medical facility, hospital presence there in Aurora. And because of Aurora's diversity, not just with its people, with its communities, you see a lot of economic growth in Aurora. You see a lot of economic opportunities within Aurora, businesses being formed. And again, there's going to be a difference. You could be very close to Denver. You could be in a more urban environment with urban-like amenities where it's a bit more walkable. You've got more restaurants. You're closer to downtown and the things. Or you could get far more suburban if you want. And there's obviously some neighborhoods that mix that nicely. So something to consider as you look at Aurora. Next up, we've got number 5, and that is Highlands Ranch, South Colorado. I actually mentioned Highlands Ranch earlier, and Highlands Ranch is I would say it's the quintessential suburb. Developed there in the early to mid 90s, and it's basically out of room. So there's no new construction in Highlands Ranch, but Highlands Ranch was the first thought out master plan suburb of Denver, at least the first of any substance. So a lot of people, when they're moving to Denver, if they want the picture perfect thought out suburb, Highlands Ranch is one of their first targets. Again, located south of Denver, you're about a 45-minute drive. If there's traffic, you're about a 45 to 50-minute drive from Denver. But when I say master plan community, they thought through everything. They've got your rec centers, they've got your shopping centers, they've got your restaurants, they've got all of the things you need within reach of your region of Highlands Ranch. And then in the midst of that, they have all sorts of different trails and parks and walking systems, things that interlink the community. Extremely well done. Education is going to be highly rated again in Highlands Ranch. They thought through that as well. And you have, whether it's public schools or private schools, like there's a STEM school that is highly rated there in Highlands Ranch. I just like to say highly rated. That's my global term that I'm going to use in this video. But Highlands Ranch is going to be well regarded in that. And again, as I mentioned, open space. I think you have 2,500 acres of open space in Highlands Ranch. You're very close to plenty of hiking trails, easy access to the mountains if you want to head that way. And then you also have enough shopping and dining and stores and things of that nature. So you're kind of covered on both bases. And I mentioned at the very beginning, I don't know why I mentioned the rec centers so early, but rec centers were a big facet of this. And again, you talk about the family and community relation that you feel in Highlands Ranch. They wanted to make sure that this was a community where people felt comfortable, they felt safe, where they felt included, if you will. And so you've got a lot of different things that bring communities together. And then as far as neighborhoods, all of the communities are going to be highly desired. So when we talk about affordability, Highlands Ranch is one area that is probably going to stretch you more than any of the others. And so if you're looking at Highlands Ranch, be prepared to pay a premium, but also be prepared that you are truly, that's probably the most suburban living that we have of this list. I'd say Parker probably close second, but Highlands Ranch is going to be number 1. And finally, let's wrap up with Broomfield, Colorado. That's our number 6. So Broomfield is located northwest of Denver, basically right between Denver and Boulder, and sneaky close to the airport. You can get to DIA, Denver International Airport, in about 40 minutes or less from Broomfield. So I would draw some comparisons between Broomfield and Lakewood. I like to reference Lakewood apparently in this video, from the fact that Broomfield has a lot of different neighborhoods, a lot of different communities. They don't really have a downtown. There isn't a specific area that you go to do your walking around, your shopping. You know, there's the Flatirons Mall, which is kind of under construction. It was once a very popular shopping area and now has kind of been hit or miss the last few years. And they are building a community called Baseline that I've gone and checked out a few times, but it's probably a year or two away from really being complete. So it's hard to tell what it will be. There is talk that that it's trying to be their hub, but we'll see. Some things you need to know about Broomfield. First, it's huge. So Broomfield is also its own county, Broomfield County, a massive, massive area. And so within Broomfield, you'll have communities that have been around. It was farmland previous to this. So some of these communities have been around for, again, 40, 50 years, but there's a lot of also new construction. And so there are different areas you can find just about any price point, whether you're buying, whether you're renting. You can find some areas that have some decent affordability, maybe some relatively lower price points, or you could get into the extremes. I always compare Parker and Broomfield, where every time I fly my drone and I take it off, I'm caught by something else I hadn't seen before. And Broomfield was one of those areas where some of the houses up there, they all happen to be off of golf courses, shocker, but they are staggeringly beautiful. Within Broomfield, plenty of outdoor activity. You'll see open space everywhere. And not just the open space there in Broomfield. You've got a bike trail that goes from Broomfield all the way up to Boulder. You've got easy access to Boulder. You've got easy access to Denver. So you have both of those amenities within, I'd say, 30 to 40 minutes, depending on traffic, from you. And you have massive economic opportunity within Broomfield. So one area in particular, the Interlochen, so south of Denver is an area called the Denver Tech Center. You may have heard of that or been familiar with that. Broomfield has its own. So located within that, several tech businesses, but a lot of industry in general. And that's really along Route 36 there, the Interlochen Loop. So a ton of economic opportunity. Schools, gotta mention those. Broomfield gets pretty high ratings as well. A lot of great schools up there. It's also home to Holy Family High School, which is near and dear to my heart. Had a lot of friends who went there. The previous location was not in Broomfield, but the new one is. So definitely a place to check out. Now, this was just 6 of the great areas surrounding Denver and in Colorado that we can go into. If we want to get to Colorado, we'll go in depth. So be on the lookout for more videos covering some of these areas. And if you have questions about them or any other town, that is a perfect opportunity to give me a call. I'm always the person answering your calls, answering your texts, answering your emails, there when and if you need me. This is Destination Denver, Colorado. That was the best places to live when moving to Colorado in 2024. Until I see you next time, peace.